You are watching the news on the hour. And now to the top stories. Bishop Anglican of the Trinity, Right Reverend Amos Fagbamie, elevates some laity and clergy within the diocese in a church service of investigation. Edo State Indigene calls on indigenes and residents of the state to go out and vote for the candidate of their choice on Saturday, the 19th of September, urging the youth not to be involved in violence. Christian Health Association of Nigeria holds its Resource Mobilization Advocacy Mission Health Institute to review and elevate its state and national bodies' resource for this year's phase. Plus, a former Minister of Information and an elder statesman, Professor Jerry Ghana, says that increase in fuel price by the government is a right step taken at the wrong time. A former dean of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Ephraim Ademowo, has lifted the lead on what has become of the Anglican mode of worship in the recent years and the level of spirituality of the members, especially that of the priest. By in the Episcopal Office, the immediate past Bishop of Lagos Diocese said that Bishop Humphrey Olumakai is a highly charismatic leader who is already infecting his clergy with his spirituality.
Gone are the days when the Anglican Church is seen as a liturgical church that will not add some charismatic flavor to its operations. Now you can see the Anglican Church is highly liturgical, but at the same time is evangelical. And we thank God for the Diocese of Lagos for what the Lord is doing. The clergy themselves are becoming more and more highly spiritual because their leader is charismatic, is highly spiritual, so he's rubbing on those priests. And you could see in the churches going on, and what we are seeing at the moment is the tip of an iceberg. What we are experiencing now is infinitesimal there. That is where the bishop is taking the diocese to.
Meanwhile, Bishop Humphrey Olumakai of the Lagos Diocese has thrown his weight behind the permit for Nigeria Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Henry Ndokoba, who recently commented on the Companies and Allied Matters Act, KAMA law, which was signed into law by the federal. That permit Ndokoba had said that the lifestyles of some pastors in the country had informed the government, calling for accountability, saying that even God will demand that from men of God. While speaking with Acnn TV reporter Charles Philippo Wakolam, Bishop Olumakai said pastors should be transparent and accountable for the resources in their management, live moderate lifestyles and be heavenly conscious.
I've said it as I'm clear, and I also stand with the primary pronouncement that we church leaders, we should also submit ourselves to transparency, accountability, and being honest in whatever we are doing. And our lifestyle is also very important. We should be able to moderate our lifestyle. Our lifestyle should be one that glorifies God, that reflects the glory of God. We should not be too attached to this world. As ministers of God, we should be heavily focused in anything we are doing. When we do that, then there is no call for government now coming in to probe us.
Away from Lagos now, the diocesan of the Anglican Diocese of the Trinity, the Right Reverend Amos Fagbamie, has elevated some laity and clergy within the Anglican Diocese of the Trinity in a church service of investiture of knights installation of cannon and collation of archdeacon, held at the Cathedral Church of the Resurrection, Indianapolis, USA. Presented to the diocesan during the service to be made commander of the Order of St. Margaret was Lady Bridget Idahosa and Mrs. Nightingale. Also made commander of the Order of St. Augustine was Mr. Kinsley Obi, Mr. Victor Okunta, and Emmanuel Onyabuchi. Also installed canon of the cathedral was Reverend Dr. Olufasoye Adebi, and collated as archdeacon was Canon Sunday Bolare, as all were encouraged to be the bearer and sharer of the good news and not to rely on their strength, but the Lord to walk through life.
Be able, by divine permission, the downtown vision of the Acnn Diocese of the Trinity in exercise of her rights and privileges, install and admit you, Bridget Idahosa, as commander of the Order of the Knights of St. Margaret of Angus in the Acnn Diocese of the Trinity, in the name of God the Father, Amen. God the Son, Amen. And God the Holy Spirit. Amen.
The Christian Health Association of Nigeria held its Resource Mobilization Advocacy Mission Health Institute for its state and national body towards reviewing and evaluating its resources for this year's phase of the project in Abuja. Acnn News correspondent Caroline Asumbe reported that the project, which started in November 2016, will end the advocacy project in October this year. Secretary General of Christian Health Association of Nigeria, Michael Ita, said the Resource Mobilization Advocacy Mission Health Institute is an advocacy project being regulated by government to complement the health services of the people, helping government in achieving its responsibility in the area of health.
Recognize that the government alone can't do this. So as Christian Association of Nigeria, Christian Health Association of Nigeria, the mission institutions are supposed to help with this service delivery. But we don't have the kind of resources the government have. The government regulates our operations and the government provides healthcare services, but they are also limited. So mission institutions' contribution is a way to help the government achieve the healthcare needs of Nigerians. This knowledge and skills to see how we can gain resources to help provide healthcare needs in Nigeria through from government and a few private individuals.
Director of Advocacy and Communication, David, who spoke on the way forward, said the advocacy project will help coordinate all church-based health facilities to ensure prevention and control of services to the vulnerable.
After the government, you have the mission hospitals. Mission hospitals are doing a lot. And so that is why we support them to do advocacy for recognition from powers that be. That's why we support them to talk to philanthropists, to give support for them to continue to render services to the poor, the vulnerable, those who are living below poverty line, who cannot afford some of these services beyond their environment. We are already in dialogue with the same people that supported this program, and we are hopeful that there's continuation.
The program featured talks on COVID-19, the role of mission using hospitals in Nigeria, and participants had this to say.
The mission of SHAN, which is Christian Association of Nigeria, is to reach the unreached. To go to area where government cannot reach.
30 to 70% of the health facilities are faith-based hospitals, that's mission hospitals, and that they have contributed significantly to the role that credible data that they received, they got it from mission hospitals. So if Nigeria would fight COVID-19. You know, mission hospitals have a track record. We are credible.
In this COVID era. So we've been able to bring out those rules and also bring out the challenges.
Of the health facilities that are offered by the mission institutions, so that the government will invest, find a way of collaborating with the faith-based facilities and invest.
An indigene of Edo State has called on indigents and residents of the state to go out to vote for the candidate of their choice on Saturday, being the 19th of September, as he also urged the youth not to be involved in violence, but should conduct themselves peacefully. While speaking with Acnn news correspondent Umane Ogechukwu in Abuja, he also called on INEC to be impartial.
I want to specifically, as an Edo State indigene, advise my brothers and sisters, my fathers and mothers in Edo State to go out to vote en masse and vote for a candidate of their choice. And I want to also advise them that they should not be induced by politicians with money, and they should also not be intimidated, and they should not allow politicians to use them to rig elections. Don't be used as an instrument of destruction. Tell it to their faces. They give you guns, they give their children good jobs in NFPC, in Shell. So the youth specifically should think, why am I being used? And their children are being promoted. So this should be an advice to our people, especially the youth, to stay back and only vote. Don't be used for violence. That is why the politicians should desist from doing this. Because if you sow evil, you will reap evil someday.
You are still watching the news on the hour, and still to come. Brazil's government sent support to Neymar after he was red-carded for a fight in a League One match in France. That story will come your way after this break. Please stay tuned.
Why do we fall ill? Is it possible to stay without falling ill? Is God interested in our health? Can we get access to cheaper health anywhere? Do you want tips on how to stay healthy?
Health Watch, a program to educate you viewers on how to take care of your bodies and deal with different health-related issues.
You are welcome back, and thanks for being there. For more on our top stories, please visit our website at acnntv.com or our social media platforms on facebook.com or youtube.com/acnntv. To be up to date with our news and other programs, download the VM Africa app from Android and iOS stores, and you can also advertise your goods and services on ACNN TV. A former Minister of Information and an elder statesman, Professor Jerry Ghana, has said that the increase in fuel pump price by the government is a right step taken at the wrong time, stressing that there is need for the removal of fuel subsidy, but it has been done at the wrong time. Speaking with ACNN News correspondent Umane Ogechukwu in his home in Abuja, the elder statesman stressed that while government of other nations are helping out their citizens because of the pandemic, the government of Nigeria is making life hard on citizens.
It's really the way they've managed it. Otherwise, the policy of not having subsidies is correct, right? But you see, you have to manage in such a way that it is done with the people's understanding. Then there are cushions here and there so that people, otherwise, if you don't do fair pricing, then somebody somewhere has to pay. And if you are not able to pay, that's how subsidies come in. And when you now comes out, they are not well applied, there's a lot of corruption. But the way the government has done it in such a way that in the time that people are so tired with COVID, they are suffering, then these prices are increasing. Oh man, it's the timing, you know, the timing and the strategy. However, the policy of not having subsidies is correct, but you are applying it and implementing it at the wrongest time. Because in the rest of the world, look at the amount of money the American government is pushing to people right now, just to survive. In Europe, they are doing the same. And here you are killing us. The policy is sound, that we don't want subsidies. But you are applying it at the wrongest time because we are now weak. We need to be helped now to survive. So this is the wrongest time to do it.
The embattled former Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Obadiah Malafia, has commended the DSS for their professionalism in the discharge of their duties. Malafia, who honored the DSS invitation for the third time in 1 month, was allowed to go home after undergoing over 3 hours interrogation at DSS headquarters in Jos Plateau State. According to him, the DSS exhibited high sense of professionalism in the way they handled the matter. However, the counsel to Malafia, Barrister Yakubu Bawa, said that the legal team are examining the case.
All of us were aware this is the third time that he appeared before them. And we always say that there is no form of intimidation or harassment in the course of our conversation and interface with them. For us, the members of the legal team, we had cause to review and re-examine this case again.
That's right.
And one thing we want to make clear and more categorical is the fact that you might not have a physical intimidation or harassment, but certainly there is emotional and psychological trauma.
Yes.
And to this point, we are calling upon the DSS that we hope and we believe this is going to be the last time we're going to do this.
Yes, exactly.
The question that begs for an answer for every Nigerian is that it is not only Dr. Malafia that had made comments that has to do with internal security, but why him?
Why him?
Now, to this end, we had an interface with them, and we've looked at it from the legal perspective. They still have powers to do so, to call him for investigation. There is no doubt about that. But we have every cause to be worried. Because it can't continue. This trajectory cannot continue. We are calling on them that let this meeting be the last meeting.
Meanwhile, a Nigerian citizen, Barrister Ikechukwu Wakama, has expressed worry on the issue of human rights with regards to whether the government is doing enough to protect and defend the rights of the citizens. According to him, it's quite touching that the giant of Africa, who should be leading other African nations to exercising human rights and human dignity, is occupying the back seat, leaving Nigerians to question if they are living in a democratic country.
It's quite touching that a country like Nigeria, who ordinarily should be leading African nations with respect to their rights to human dignity, is actually taking the back seat. Today, you see the harassment and intimidation of security agencies on innocent citizens. In fact, people are beginning to question whether they are living in a democratic country or they are living in another setting that is completely out of democracy. There are a lot of rights that the Constitution has recognized, and the church too has a duty to make sure that they continue to educate the people about their rights, right to life, right to dignity of human person, and every other thing that concerns it. But again, it's a system. It's a system. The system has not been able to rise up to the occasion that with respect to the challenges that people face when it comes to their rights. It's quite.
He further advised that all those responsible for making sure that the people's rights are protected to rise up and live up to expectations.
We have a lot of institutions that are not living up to their standard. We have the National Human Rights Commission, we have the Legal Aid Council, we have other commissions that the government has set up with respect to encouraging and making sure that people's rights are protected. But today what we see is that either they are underfunded, or they are understaffed, or other things that have led to their inability to function. So it's a system that everybody will rise up to, because the truth is, when we take away fundamental rights and the rights of human dignity, then there is nothing to live for. When this issue of rights comes in, we believe that we live in a social contract system where the people have surrendered their political will to government in exchange for government to protect their rights. But what we see today is that government has not been able to keep to their own parts of ensuring that the people's rights are kept, even having voted them into power. So it's a thing that is saddening and sickening. And we look forward to a country that will one day respect every individual right in this country.
Nigerian-born political scientist Dr. John Emeka Akude has been elected a member of the Cologne City Council in Germany. By his election, Acnn made history as the first chancellor of African origin in Cologne, Germany's fourth biggest city with about 1 million residents. Acnn was elected when millions of voters went to the polls in towns and cities across Germany's most populous state to vote for Lord Mayors, councillors, and the integration councils. Reacting to Acn's victory, Rahab Njeri, the only other African origin candidate who took part in the election of Cologne, said even though she was not elected, all African descendant inhabitants of the city were winners with the victory of the Nigerian-born politician. Japan's parliament has elected Yoshihide Suga as Prime Minister of Japan, with the former Chief Cabinet Secretary expected to stick closely to policies championed by Shinzo Abe during his record-breaking tenure. Suga won an easy victory, taking 314 votes of 462 valid ballots cast in the lower house of parliament, where his ruling Liberal Democratic Party holds a commanding majority. He bowed deeply as lawmakers applauded him following the announcement, but made no immediate comment. Suga is expected to announce his cabinet later, with local media reporting that he will retain a number of ministers from the last government. The U.S. President Donald Trump has denied downplaying the seriousness of COVID-19, despite admitting in a recorded interview to having done that. The claim contradicts comment that Trump made to journalist Bob Woodward earlier this year, when he said he minimized the virus seriousness to avoid panic, thereby leading some scientists to fear politics rather than health and safety, driving the push for a vaccine before the 3rd of November presidential elections. Report says more than 195,000 people have died with COVID-19 in the U.S. since the beginning of the pandemic. It further said Donald Trump has rejected evidence and science describing his response to the coronavirus pandemic as dishonest and inept. Moving on to sports news, Brazil's government has sent its support to Neymar after he was red-carded for a fight in a League One match in France, condemning the racism that triggered the brawl. The PSG star is facing punishment by the French League's disciplinary commission after slapping defender Alvaro Gonzalez near the end of PSG's 1-0 loss to Marseille on Sunday, accusing the Spaniard of calling him a monkey. Gonzalez denies the accusation, but in Neymar's native Brazil, the ministry responsible for human rights issues said it stood behind the world's most expensive footballer. To end the news, here is a recap of our major stories. Bishop Anglican Diocese of the Trinity, the Right Reverend Amos Fagbamiye, elevates some laity and clergy within the Anglican Diocese of the Trinity in a church service of investiture of ninth, installation of canon, and collation of archdeacon. Edo State Indigene calls on indigenes and residents of the state to go out and vote for the candidate of their choice on Saturday, the 19th of September, urging the youth not to be involved in violence. Christian Health Association of Nigeria holds its Resource Mobilization Advocacy Mission Health Institute to review and evaluate its state and national bodies' resources for this year's feats. Thus, a former Minister of Information and an elder statesman, Professor Jerry Garner, says that increase in fuel pump price by the government is a right step taken at the wrong time. Well, that's where we draw the curtain for this edition of the News on the Hour. I want to thank you profusely for watching. I am Izubechi Frank. Bye-bye.
benefits of ginger.